The idea of a stable global order is breaking apart before our eyes. For decades after the Cold War, the world operated under a system dominated by the US and its Western allies. Global trade expanded. Institutions like NATO, IMF, WTO, and the UN shaped international politics. And many believe that liberal democracy had permanently won the ideological battle. But today, that system is cracking under pressure from wars, economic rivalries, sanctions, energy battles, and the rise of competing power centers like China, Russia, India, and regional blocs across the Middle East and the global south. For years, experts warned that the unipolar era led by Washington would not last forever. But many assumed that the transition towards a multipolar world would be gradual and manageable. Instead, what the world is witnessing right now is a chaotic redistribution of global power. Major nations are no longer respecting the same rules, institutions, or diplomatic conventions that once governed international relations. Governments are acting first and improvising later. Alliances are shifting rapidly. Energy routes, technology networks, rare minerals, shipping lanes, and even currency systems are now battlegrounds in a larger geopolitical struggle. Look at the Ukraine war. The Ukraine war is one of the major turning points. It exposed the deep fracture between Russia and the West, and it accelerated the militarization of Europe. But the conflict in the Middle East, especially the tensions surrounding Iran and the Strait of Hormuz, pushed the global system even closer to instability. The world discovered how vulnerable the global economy really is when shipping lanes are threatened. Even countries traditionally aligned with the US began quietly questioning whether the Washington still represents stability or unpredictability. What makes this moment especially dangerous is that no clear replacement order has emerged yet. During the Cold War, the world was divided between two superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union. That system was tense, but it was understandable. Today, there are multiple power centers competing simultaneously. China is expanding economically and technologically. Russia is aggressively challenging Western dominance. India is balancing between blocs while increasing its own global influence. Gulf countries are building independent foreign policies. Europe is struggling to redefine its role amid weakening American reliability. You can see, viewers, how the situation is right now. Everyone is playing. This is not simply a conflict between East and West anymore. It is a battle over who writes the rules of the next century. Countries are competing over financial systems, semiconductor supply chains, AI dominance, energy corridors, and military influence. The old assumption that globalization would reduce conflict has proven false. Instead, globalization created deeper dependencies, and now those dependencies are being weaponized. Another major sign of collapse is the declining authority of international institutions. The United Nations Security Council appears increasingly paralyzed because major powers veto each other's interests. The World Trade Organization, the WTO, has struggled to enforce trade norms. NATO faces internal disagreements. Even America's closest allies are now openly discussing the possibility of reducing dependence on Washington. China's rise sits at the center of this transition. Beijing has avoided direct military involvement on the scale of the United States or Russia, but its economic expansion and technological ambitions are fundamentally reshaping global power. And how is China doing that? I'll tell you about this. Through initiatives like BRICS expansion, alternative payment systems, and strategic infrastructure investment, China is helping create institutions that bypass Western dominance. The US sees this as direct challenge to its global leadership. But perhaps the biggest danger is that the collapse of the old world order is happening faster than the creation of a new one. The fall of empires rarely happen peacefully, of course. Today's world faces multiple overlapping crises simultaneously. Wars in Europe and the Middle East, rising nationalism, energy insecurity, technological disruption, cyber warfare, climate stress, migration pressures, and weakening trust in institutions. These crises are feeding into each other and increasing global volatility. The world is entering an era where alliances are fluid, rules are contested, and power is constantly shifting. The age of unquestioned American dominance is fading, but the new global architecture has not been built. And when the old systems collapse before new systems emerge, history shows the result is often uncertainty, instability, and conflict. The real question now is not whether the old world order is gone, it is whether humanity can survive the turbulent transition towards whatever comes next. Lastly, I'll just leave you viewers with one question. And how do you think the current superpowers are going to cope up with this? Think and tell us in the comment section below.